Member Basua?
Here.
Member Madrigal?
Here.
Chair Ramirez?
Here.
Chair, we have a quorum, and the agenda for this meeting was posted in the City Hall kiosk on Tuesday, January 21st.
Thank you. We're going to have the flag salute, and although we don't usually ask for a moment of silence at the committee meetings, I'll ask for one for Dr. Manuel Lopez, who was mayor of the city for a long time. And condolences to his family. He passed away yesterday afternoon. So, Councilwoman Basua, would you lead us?
Place your hand over your right heart. Ready, begin. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you very much. This is the time for public comments on items not on the agenda. I see that we have no members of the public here, so we'll proceed to consent agenda. And we have minutes of the meeting. Is there a motion to approve? Correct change?
Second.
All right, we have all those in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. So now we'll go on to the one item on our agenda, Cultural and Community Services Department. Subject, new digital platform for reservations, and recommendation that the Community Services Committee receive a report. And we have Mr. Harrison. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you, committee members. In the past, we spoke about going to a digital platform and that we would move in that direction. This is the first phase of the digital platform, and we're immediately using it for soccer reservations. In the future, we're looking at, actually in the near future, we're looking at moving it to facilities themselves as well as park areas for practice. Moving forward, as we spoke about earlier, I think this actually moved ahead one. Okay. No, that's fine. So what we did was in the background we spoke about the access for soccer reservations. Our current system is outdated, and what that means is outdated means we're doing everything by hand. Any statistics that we need to pull, we have to literally have people count the hours, the minutes, what people are doing, and it's very, very cumbersome. And then also, when we're pulling statistics, that tells us a lot about our users, and our new digital platform allows us to do that. Right now, the system that we are using, Facilitron, and we brought it up, spoke about it earlier, is the reason why we went with that system is because the elementary school district as well as the high school district uses this platform. And so what that means is that if something should happen at one of their facilities, the user uses the same user number. So if there's notes in the system, that automatically comes back to us. So if there's a problem renter or there was any sort of issue, we will be made aware of that. Currently, right now, the city of Oxnard, we rent to 8 groups at multiple facilities. Now, you see we have the 8 soccer leagues. The 8 soccer leagues, actually 4 of them, actually 3 of them being youth, 1 of them being our professional team, the Guerreros, and the other 4 are adult leagues. The play spaces, the spaces will be allowed when we are renting. It will take reservations. It'll data track, and customer notifications will go out to the customer if there's any notes. If we have to do an instant closure, that will the customer will be notified. If there's any sort of changes, if we need to move them, we could actually notify them. It won't be a phone call. It'll alert them through email. How it works, and later on in the presentation, our recreation coordinator, Jesse Tapia, will go online and show you, give you a demonstration of how easy it is to go ahead and reserve. But what the user will do is the user can go on to the system. It can look at, they will agree to our procedures. They can go on and actually file their insurance or get insurance on Facilitron. And there is no direct charge to the city of Oxnard, except for 10% of the rentals actually go to them. So we did not pay for access to the system. They're taking 10%. And that's what I was talking about, no direct costs, and what is provided is a software, the design and setup, and the support. And the support is very important because as we bring on new facilities, they come out, Facilitron comes out and pictures them, puts them online for us, allows us to go ahead and change the description of what's happening of the facility as the facility should change. And we can bring on as many facilities as we would like with no extra charge. It says here that we will go live in February 2020, but we have also spoke to every single soccer group that we have, and 4 of them are already using the system. So we are already live with it. So half of the users are already using the system. And if they need support in using the system, they can contact Facilitron, as well as staff will walk them through the process if they have any issue. That's the 10% that I talk about. We're projected to have $136,068 of revenue. So you can see that is roughly 10% of that. And that's what Facilitron will charge us, or will take from the rental. But as far as staff time is concerned, we become very efficient because of this. So what I would like to do is bring up our recreation coordinator, Jesse Tapia, so he can give you an online demonstration.
Thank you.
Good evening, committee members. So we're going to go ahead and do a walkthrough of it. This is what the front page of the website, actual website, looks like. So you would see we have our sites listed on here as a catalog. I'm going to go and show you guys a little bit of what it looks like. They came in with the drone, take pictures of all the locations. And as Taro said, this is something that they can do to any of the facilities that we have in some of their systems with other school districts. They've done aquatic centers, ballrooms, different areas, and they'll take care of that, as well as the display or the catalog display on the website. In this case, so I clicked on College Park, and you will see on the bottom we have a calendar. So what we met as far as November, or February, I'm sorry, is when we open up our fields back up, because they're down for maintenance right now. So on any of this day, they would be able to click on a date, and it gives them the time that they want to reserve. We have other locations here listed as well, so they can reserve all in one area. So I'm just going to click on one so you can see an hour slot. They add to cart, and then it asks you if you want to add more facilities. So if there's leagues who are using multiple sites, they can do it all at once. And so for this, I'm just going to click no, go to checkout. So to back up a little bit, they would have to create a profile on Facilitron. And as Taro said, some of these leagues already have it, have a username and password because they've used it with other districts. So it would be the same login and information that they have. They will have to submit their insurance that it's applicable to our city and our requirements. So that's built in. So they would have, if they use multiple districts, they would have to have multiple insurances. So on here, For test, we're going to just put soccer game. And then the type of event, we can do it depending on our site location. And then it'll ask you for a number of attendees. And we'll put 100 for this event. It'll ask you if you're charging for an event. On this one, we'll say no. You continue it. And then, as Terrell mentioned, you can either purchase the insurance that is, the requirements are listed on here and is the same requirements that we have as a city. And then you can purchase it through them, or they can upload it if they already have it. Additional services, and this can be added depending on the site and location. In this case, College Park does have lights, so it has a $25 per hour fee. So we'll click on that one just to show the exact total. So I'll click no on here, and you will continue. This is actually our terms and conditions, our allocation policies and procedures that normally, and we give to all our leagues on our quarterly meetings, and it's a packet that they have, and it has all of our rules, code of conducts, and everything is listed on here. So it says how we meet quarterly, the process of how we do that. So just like they sign it in paper currently, this is how they agree to the terms and conditions. So everything is on here that we do as of now. So we will just click submit. It'll give you the option to pay here, later, or you can pay a portion of it or in full. Now, Facilitron takes care of the payment. So what they do is they send us the check, and they collect payment from the users. So if a user doesn't pay them, Facilitron still sends us our money for our reservation that they made, and then they collect from the users itself. So then we don't have to go out and kind of looking for them as well. So in this case, there is an option of like mail, check, money order. So just to show this, for this example, it would be, the cost would be $85, $60 for the 1 hour of field use, $25 for the light, and they would submit it. As Terrell mentioned, on our end, and it'll notify the customer, we can make any modifications to the rental. If there is somebody who comes in and reserves all the fields, we can partially approve, one field, or if they try to reserve the whole time, it's based on our location. So we can do that on our end and modify those reservations, and then they will get the notification. So once they submit it, it still goes to our approval process, and we have to make sure everything is in line to what we allocate on a quarterly basis. So on this case, just submit, and then we would get on our side a notification. So you would get a request number. You can also, if you print, it'll give you a QR code. That's your permit number, that if we have a monitor out there, if there's a dispute or anything like that, we will share this with our staff. It also allows us to create a calendar for the entire facility, which we can provide to our monitors so they know who's supposed to be at the right place. And like we said, any instructions here, any comments, this is where they upload their insurance if they already have some. It lets them know that it's awaiting approval until we approve it on our end. And then they can make any changes at any time. So this concludes the demo portion of it. Is there any questions?
I'll ask my colleagues here. Councilman Madrigal.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I've just kind of been going through the website myself at the same time. Anything with a joint use agreement between school district and city, you would not be able to rent those, right? Because I was looking at some of these, and I went all the way up through June, and there is no available dates. And I've gone to some of the city parks, and you're already able to start booking them for weekends.
Yeah, so that's what we read as far as like the February. There is a few things that we need to change with Facilitron, with the Rio Vista, which I assume that's the one that you're talking about. We only use it during the fall. So if you go all the way to September, that's when the first day that they would be able to reserve it. And then, yeah, for the parks, we're actually going to block those and put a block on the reservations until further notice, or until we need to make any adjustments to that. And they can actually take that and make any changes to the website to reflect the current.
Okay. I know that this probably will come up like at a later time, but we have like the Sunset Little League and I guess now it's the Oxnard Baseball League, what used to be Northside. They predominantly use the field at pretty much all times, and then they're the ones that kind of keep up the field in shape. So would they still have that, like, pretty much 100% use of those fields?
So member Madrigal, so right now, you're right, they are dominantly using those fields, but they're doing a lot of the upkeep when they're
Yeah,
using them.
That's what I said in my comment.
So
That's-
right now, we are looking into that and seeing what kind of reservation or when would be the use that other people could use those play areas. But right now, we haven't dug that deep, but they are maintaining their own fields, which is a benefit to us.
I understand that completely. I just asked simply because it was one of the fields that you're able to rent out right now.
Right.
So that's the reason for my discussion. And lastly, I do have one other question. Some of the parks, Southwest Park, Del Sol Park, it has the same field for 3 different things. So it says large and it says small. Does that mean that you only get like half the field or part of the field if?
So I'll let Jesse go ahead and describe that, but it's according to the age groups depending upon,
Oh, okay,
and
so-
you know soccer better than I do. So I'll let Jesse describe it, how they're doing that.
Okay.
So, Committee Member Madrigal, the perfect example of that would be Del Sol East, which is the area outside of the stadium. It can be used for 1 large field or 2 smaller fields. So depending on what their use is what they would reserve for that. And that's what we currently do already. So everything, as far as the way we make reservations and the allocation of the fields, none of that is changing, and everything's continuing the same way. The only thing we're changing is the way we do the reservations, that's streamlining online.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman?
Thank you. I do have a question in regards to the insurance. When you showed us on your demonstration, is the $75 per event?
For this reservation, yes. So most of our leagues have their annual their annual insurance that they have, and so it would be the same. This would be if they want to purchase through Facilitron that meets our requirements from the city. So most of them have their own, and they would just upload the certificate, but Facilitron does have the option of purchasing the same requirements through them.
Okay, so, and then my next question is, what is going to be the staff time if I was to go on here to reserve for a scrimmage, say a month in advance? How soon can I get a confirmation from the city?
So it depends on the reservation, but as I mentioned before, right now we don't reserve for scrimmages or practices. So the reservations are done for games only for the local league. So that would continue the same way that it's been. So the only thing, as I mentioned before, is the leagues are now reserving instead of in person and on paper, it's online. But as far as the reservations for practice or for scrimmages or everything like that, we're not starting that as of now.
So basically, this is only for what you said was the, how many teams? 8? Yeah, for the 4 adults, 3 youth, and so this is only going to be used for them as of now.
It's going to be used, just for clarity, not necessarily teams, but leagues. So within the leagues, there could be multiple teams for those ones. So all the leagues is how we're kind of piloting it out to work out some of these bugs that even you're raising at this point. Then we would look to expand it to other programs and potentially the practice field. I mean, there's still more that we need to present back to the committee on that side of it. But right now, starting with the leagues, because they're frequent flyers of the reservations, they typically have the insurance. They're used to doing that, and that's our highest volume of customers. And we have a good relationship in terms of being able to test it with them to do that. And then we would go to that side. But if you can hit maybe the number of teams within the leagues that you're expecting this to reach.
So I'm just trying to visualize this. So the Oxnard Premier League is getting ready to be formed for the spring. And my daughter's team is going to be participating in the Oxnard Premier League. We necessarily would never do the scheduling. The Oxnard Premier League goes in there, takes up all the slots, and not necessarily, yes, my daughter's team has insurance, but not necessarily will we be doing the reservation. So I guess that's my question, because when we're talking about leagues, we're talking about leagues that are they already have their games scheduled. So when I'm looking at it this way, I'm just looking at, well, it's basically we're, just saying, hey, leagues, we're going to try this with you guys. But I also know that if my daughter's team wanted to scrimmage a team from LA, we would have to wait that week to see what the leagues are going to be doing with their fields until until the city releases the fields. So we're anticipating waiting. We're on the waiting period to find out what the leagues are doing. And my thought process and my hope was that would be alleviated by having a program quite like this, where if again, using my daughter's team, for example, wanted to, have a scrimmage a month out, they would be able to do that.
Yeah, Committee Member Basua, yeah, like I said, as of right now, the reservations currently, how we do them are for official games. The only time that it would have an impact on a club, I assume, which we've already met with the clubs as well, is during Coast, because as you mentioned, in the springtime or during the leagues, the seasons, the leagues are reserving the areas. But during Coast, since the clubs are the ones using it, the clubs will have to create a profile and reserve their game times based on the teams. And we've met with the clubs and are working with them together. I know they're not going to use them until the fall, but we met with them already to give them time to prepare and learn how to use all of this and troubleshoot all of that for the fall, because that's when they would use it for Coast.
So we're referring to Coast then for September.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'll disclose that I do the field stuff for my Oxnard United Club team, and then I go back and we charge all the teams based on the hours that we pay. So now we will be paying online.
Yes, or you can pay by mail as well as a check.
Because now you guys usually don't collect the fees until after Coast is done.
Mm-hmm.
Then you total it all up, and then we write one big check. So that is still a process maybe that we could do?
Yes, so it also gives you the option of paying later, and that's where that option is. So we tailored it to our practices and what we currently do. So it allows you to, when you make a reservation, to do it in full and the 10% or later. And also when we met with the clubs, we explained to them that they don't have to do the entire league. For example, as a club, you can do it, reserve your games for the month and then pay at the end of the month. Because one of the things that we had as a club is, on the other side of it, is you get the bill in December, and it's hard to, when the games have already passed. So we've taken all those factors into consideration in using this platform.
Okay. No, I appreciate it. And just a comment in regards to that, just knowing how popular, club soccer is. I would like to collect these fees up front, because I know, like my club, if we don't have our field fees in by the end of August, we're not registering. They're not allowing us to play. So the clubs have the money sitting there, and we're just waiting till December they're waiting till December to get a bill so they can pay, and sometimes we're not really paying until January.
Yeah, and this one allows you to actually get a full estimate of what that cost would be. And if there is, I know with club soccer, if there is changes for rain or anything like that, we can make those modifications on our end, and everybody will get notified, so we can adjust that when that happens.
Thank you.
Well, I want to say I really appreciate my two colleagues here, very informed about soccer. And I'm less so, but I appreciate that. My question is, if you could just say in a nutshell, how does the city make sure that no one entity is taking over? Is that where the watching comes in? Or, reserving it all, or that kind of thing? So
what we do in the allocation process is a rotating system amongst leagues. So we divide the need per league into the fields that are allocated, and we develop a schedule for the quarter based on their needs when we meet at the beginning of the year. So everybody already knows the amount of fields that they're getting for the spring or
Okay.
for that quarter. And that's what that the reservation should reflect the schedule that we send out to them on a quarterly basis.
Okay, so there is a method to that.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, those are all my questions. So, Madam City Clerk, do we have a public comment? No? Okay. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Comments, or are you keeping everything private?
Mr. Stein, did you submit a card?
I came in after public comments.
Well, if you want to speak on this agenda item, I'll let you, but you're too late for the items not on the agenda.
I'm always too late.
I'm sorry about that. All right. So with that, I think we finished this agenda item. And I'd like to ask my colleagues if they have any items for future agendas. Excuse me, you're going to have to behave yourself, Mr. Stein. You know that's not proper. So let's go on. Do my colleagues have any future agenda items? Mr. Madrigal, Ms. Basua? No? Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.